Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trek Before. This time, Symbiosis. I feel like we have a symbiotic relationship. You listen to me, I talk to you. Speaking of symbiotic relationships, another one that you may have with us, patreon.com/IBD. If you don't already have it, establish it. You can establish it. You feed us. You send us that monthly donation, or maybe it's just a one-time drop-off, and we, in turn, give you quality programming. It's all been. You can get bonus episodes. We're nearing the end of season 1 here. We're trying to figure out what our special episodes are going to be. So you will have access to those, unlike the dregs who just listen to us regularly. But we love you, dregs, also. And please, dregs, listen to this episode, Symbiosis, on It's All Been Trek Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trek Before. We're all here.
Every one of us.
This is Steven.
And Keith.
Jimmy-Jerome. We're here to talk Symbiosis. Symbiosis? I don't know.
Symbiotic.
We gotta get Emma Watson to come in here and tell us how to pronounce it. Never mind. I don't know. I just thought Leviosa. Never mind.
Yeah, I know.
It was a bad joke.
I got it.
First impressions of the episode.
Not uninteresting. Great cast. I mean, a lot of it. Obviously, Merritt Buttrick's in it. Love him. Judson Scott, two guys from Wrath of Khan. One of the best Treks ever.
Which one was Judson Scott? I knew the name sounded familiar.
Joachim, or whatever. Khan's right-hand man.
Oh.
Essentially, it's Kirk.
Okay, that's why he looks
Kirk
so...
and Khan's sons, essentially.
Yeah.
I always thought he was Khan's son.
And some of the novels back you up on that.
Yeah.
So, and then, obviously Merritt Buttrick, very recently, as this aired, just a few, 2-3 years before, played David Marcus in Star Trek 2 and 3. So, really close on the heels of that movie.
So they're both from that. That's
back.
wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So he was Captain Tijan then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's why.
that was Kirk's son.
They both look familiar, and that's reasonable.
They both also looked quite different. I mean, Judson Scott, obviously, big makeover.
Yeah.
But Merritt Buttrick, it was really just a little bit different hair and a nose piece.
Yeah.
But I felt like it was such a different character.
Well, and I'll get deeper into this later, but he died within a year of this. He died in 1989. This is, April '88 of essentially complications from AIDS. Which I feel like this episode touches on.
I thought that was makeup that made him look bad. Do you think he was actually so sick that was...
I just think he was thinner, probably, than...
Well,
than
around the eye, the red around the eyes and stuff.
I mean, some of it was definitely for these guys are addicts.
Sure.
But I think some of it was he was just a thinner guy.
I did not know. He died at age 29.
And a little older. Yeah.
So young.
Yep. And great character actor, man. He would have been great. Yeah, I mean, he would have gone on to do a lot more great things. It's a bummer.
Probably. I mean, he's
a big bummer.
5 more credits after this. That last year of his life.
Yeah.
What he's best known for, of course, is Wrath of Khan, followed by Search for Spock, followed by this role.
Wow.
But he had...
I would say credits. Square Pegs. The seminal
he
series
did 20
Square
episodes
Pegs.
of that, yeah.
Yeah, which was probably all.
Wrath of Khan
was Sarah Jessica Parker and
Wrath of Khan was only his 4th credit. So his career was pretty well defined. I mean, I thought he was excellent in this episode. We definitely saw some range. And Judson Scott, while I didn't particularly like him when I remember that other role, there's a difference. I mean, I don't know. He's more wooden.
He is. I felt like he was a guy who I always thought you would see in more things, but he didn't break through from just being the good-looking guy kind of thing.
Yeah.
I always liked seeing him, but also that's probably because, hey, it's the guy from Wrath of Khan. But
he's best known for the movie Blade, 1998 movie.
Oh, wow.
He played Palantine.
Interesting.
And as well as the 1985 television series V.
I remember that. I do remember
this Next Gen role is what he's 3rd best known for. Wrath of Khan does not make the top 4 he's known for.
That's amazing.
See, I don't think that...
He did 3 episodes of The X-Files. That's what he's 4th best known for.
Oh.
And he's the same character.
He's still with us, I think.
He did do an episode of Voyager. Yes, he is still with us. Yeah, he'll do an episode of Voyager down the road.
Did somebody tell us they met him? I'm trying to think. I thought somebody told the story of, and maybe I heard this on a podcast, of meeting Judson Scott, at a convention or whatever.
I don't know. But he impressed me less. But in terms of first impression of the episode, because we got away from that, that's okay. Keith, what's your first impression of the episode?
Well, this is more like, I guess if I'm counting, probably like my 8th impression of it. But what I put down it felt like more like a synopsis. I said this felt like a good old-fashioned original series quandary. It didn't feel like we had much of that during this series yet, but that kind of getting in between a couple of culture thing, that balance of something.
And I thought, like, I'm sorry, Jimmy, we'll get to your questions too.
That's fine.
But I thought that was, I know we got caught up with the cast. I thought that, like, those elements were really interesting. Getting into not only the ideas of drugs and, addicts and all that stuff and the cost and all I think they hit it on several different levels. I thought those were interesting. And then the Prime Directive stuff. In between, I thought we got a very heavy-handed just say no message, which was weird. And then they kind of pulled out of it.
This was the 80s.
Yeah, it was, and I thought that I thought that compromised it and made it less for me. Even though I thought there was some very, because I thought Gates McFadden, they gave her some good stuff and then they gave her some terrible stuff, and she worked her butt off with it. But like I said, some of it just came off as, oh my god, and some of it came off as like, all right, these are interesting conversations. Like, and I was like, I want to check out, but then they get in the lift at the end, and I'm like, nope, this is still an interesting conversation. And, I know there's not going to be a sequel to this episode, but...
Unless Star Trek Picard does it.
So, I ended up in the middle, but Jim, you're
I mean, honestly, for the first half or maybe 2/3 of the episode, I was kind of like, it's fine. Yeah. It's a little boring. Not really into it. Wow. But that final third... Man, I came away from this going, I really dug this episode. Like Keith said, the original series ideas and the thinking and the philosophy and the Prime Directive stuff and that final turbo scene between Crusher and Picard, all of that for me elevated this episode to the point where I'm going to want to rank it high. So we'll see when we get down to it. But I mean, I just thought it took a while to get there. But the original series did sometimes too.
Sometimes, yeah. And so I think I'm about 2/3 really liked, and 1/3 I really hated. So,
well, since you already talked,
I put it in the middle.
Since you already talked about a couple of the guest stars, let's go ahead and finish off those. Kimberly Farr played Langor,
and I couldn't find much on her.
Yeah, she was born October 16, 1948, and she's best known for this role.
Yeah,
she has 9
Did you say 1948?
Yeah.
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah,
she looks good,
Well, that was 30 years ago.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
she was 40 years old.
So
Yeah.
40 was the new 37 back then.
Yeah.
Like I said, this is what she's best known for, but she did 9 episodes of a television series called Live-In. Or Live-In? Probably Live-In.
I don't remember that one.
I don't know. And that's basic. And then she had some guest spots like this.
She doesn't have a Wikipedia page or anything like.
No, she doesn't have a picture on IMDb either. Romos was Richard Linebeck.
Yeah, and he went on to do a lot of stuff.
He's best known for Speed.
Yeah.
And Natural Born Killers. And The Ring. And Twister.
Yep.
So a lot of horror, scary, intense stuff. He also did an episode of Star Trek Enterprise that we'll get to as a guest spot.
Someday.
Now.
It won't be that long.
10, 50 years, something like that.
And interestingly enough, he did an episode of Deep Space Nine called Dax, which was all about... Dax was the symbiote in Deep Space Nine. I doubt that had any connection to this part or episode, but I find that interesting that that's the episode he comes back in DS9 for. I don't even remember who the guy on the view screen was. I'm not even sure. Kenneth?
Yeah, he's a great character actor too, and I thought it was a Seinfeld connection, but it's not. But he's been in a million things.
A million? Well, IMDb is...
I'm going to say at least several hundred.
I was going to say, IMDb is a bit behind because they only have 168.
All right, I was pretty sure.
Not quite a million. What he's best known for is the movie The Avengers.
Oh, I don't remember.
He played German old man.
Okay, actually, no, I do remember him.
I don't.
Actually.
Lethal Weapon 3.
Oh, from the I Will Not Kneel Again guy, something like that.
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think I was at the place that was filmed, the Cleveland Museum of Art.
He recently did 15 episodes of The Man in the High Castle as Heinrich Himmler. So if you're a fan of that Amazon, he did 6 episodes of House of Cards with Kevin Spacey and Walter Doyle. Oh, I remember him as Walter Doyle. Okay. He's got a lot of credits.
Yeah, he's been a lot of stuff.
He was a judge on The Good Wife, like Gates McFadden.
Okay.
Like our good friend Beverly Crusher. LA Heat. I won't go through all this stuff, but he has the biggest resume of any of the 5 guest stars that we've had.
Yeah.
So I thought the guest star quality on this episode, while, again, I'm not sold on Jetson Scott's acting ability, it was nice to get a Wrath of Khan face in there.
Yeah.
And Merrick Buttrick was fantastic. I thought Richard Linebeck was really good. And I'm divided on Kimberly Farr, too. She was pretty, but...
I thought
I like her.
No, see,
It's been an acting choice. Too.
I thought they both did what they were supposed to do.
I thought
seemed,
so, too.
They seemed like really like stiff, civilized characters.
Oh, yeah,
they were trying to be they shifted to be like slightly reasonable when they needed to be that kind of like we're making these concessions because we see your point where I thought it was perfect just
when really they were just high class drug dealers. Jump to the beginning of the episode.
Sure.
Picard exposition.
Yeah.
First note, did you write it down too? We all wrote it down. Solution for Jimmy and Steven's objection. Camera swivels, and Picard was explained to a new recruit.
But
he's addressing the whole ship. Which, so
you saw my actually there. Yeah, it seemed like it was actually just families, recruits, and things like
Keith
that.
just hit on what I was gonna say. When you think about if Kirk was addressing the whole ship, he's addressing a crew of Starfleet trained officers. When Picard addresses the whole ship, half that ship are families, spouses and children, because there were women serving and male spouses too. Yeah. So he actually is addressing a lot of civilians that may not know what it is, which I didn't think about until Keith pointed. I was reading Keith's note, but yeah.
I still see of the 1,000 people on the ship, 600 just rolling their eyes like, yeah, we know.
Oh, absolutely.
Jag.
Absolutely, but then there's 400 others.
And then there's the kids who are like, why is he talking?
But then there's 300 others.
Well, the other way to look at that
who are just turning up their TVs so they don't have to
And then
hear
there's 5 others. There's the old German man and his quarters going, oh, I like this news update.
Magnetic field? What?
And then he jumps on Google and finds out.
I didn't sign on for this.
No,
Space Google.
Google.
For the realistic and maybe even comedic standpoint, if you think about it, if you've been on this ship for a while, you go, we're encountering something new. We better like put on our seatbelts or something because something's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh no, it's like warning.
Well,
we're exploring this thing.
So as much as we just said exposition, then my next note is I'm not sure what's going on. So what was the deal with the magnetic? Why were they there for the magnetic fields?
The sun was doing interesting things that stars don't usually do. It was casting out extra intense.
That's every day.
And unpredictable magnetic fields.
Why can't I get the internet in for a couple minutes? Oh, sunspots.
But this one was
That's
like
not interesting.
times 1,000.
That's really not interesting though. Yeah, that's fair.
This times 1,000.
It's interesting to me.
I did really enjoy the Eclipse app.
Yes, that was nice.
I feel like it should have come on automatically much earlier, but I enjoyed it.
The other thing, while we're talking about old school kind of stuff, I like the bad TV reception they were getting when they're like, which I think sunspots probably do mess with TV reception.
But
on the big screen thingy.
Yeah.
But it is
on my little screen too.
It is notable that when you get interference for a digital signal, because I have an antenna in this house, I have it on cable.
Oh yeah, right.
The digital interruption looks totally different than the old school UHF interruption.
Yeah.
And that was an old school UHF interruption.
It was.
That was not a digital interruption.
That's what those sunspots do.
They just couldn't imagine what digital interruptions.
Those sunspots take it right back to the old days. Of Earth in the 1970s.
Right, I mean, the sun wouldn't know any better. They didn't really have technology out there. They're just like,
oh, God, Keith.
They were advanced, but they never developed that part of their technology.
We get Wesley when the thing starts dancing across the console. Wesley's flip. Like going, wow, look at that. And then he turns and totally deadpan. My console's overloading. I'm like, what?
I didn't understand that at all.
I missed it.
I thought he was trying to be professional for the bridge crew.
I forgot, so I just gave him another point of annoying. Yeah, because, and I thought I immediately thought like, oh, something from the sun's going to take over the ship. I'm glad it didn't.
Yeah, me too.
We've had those episodes.
I thought the same thing.
So it was just the idea of, oh, this is going to mess up the ship, and that makes a lot of sense.
more of those types of episodes.
I know you will, but I liked that it went that way, and I thought the effect was kind of interesting.
No, I think you could explain Wesley's character change, but it still didn't feel authentic.
It seemed like he should have been turned around like, hey guys, there's something wrong with the console.
Like, if it's really interesting to the point it impresses him, it probably impresses senior officers too.
Right.
I mean, he's a smart guy.
Maybe he's learned his lesson. He's like, let's just skip ahead. I know they're going to go like, oh, Wesley's just fine. So I'm just not going to say anything.
Wesley, shut up.
I was writing down that the tractor beam doesn't work, but the transporter works fine. But then the transporter didn't really work fine.
Yeah, I had the same thought. Like, wait a minute. So what, are they going to beam over? They are going to beam over. No, that... Oh, okay, they said that won't
But
work
I
great
still think
either.
if the transporter was having... Or the tractor beam was having trouble, she wouldn't even try the transporter at that point, right?
That seems riskier.
Yeah, way
Really?
riskier.
I guess it's easier, but it's
The transporter would
riskier.
be way more complicated
Yeah.
than the tractor beam.
Well, I mean, it seemed like an emergency thing they had to do. It was like either they're going to die or we have to try it. So
Speaking of which, did we ever find out who the other two people that died were? And
Nope.
what- and we know so we don't know why they didn't give a crap.
Nope.
right. I
Interesting.
think the addiction took precedence.
The addiction did take precedence.
Yeah.
And maybe that was the illustration of how much precedence it took.
Right. They got there. It just that was. I think that all served to.
I think it was pretty clear it was Tijan's friends, too, that died, not Sobeys, which may have made a big difference.
the Breckians.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense, too.
So I mean, yeah, it was. That was all to make them seem so sketchy at the beginning. That was the whole point for them crew standpoint to go.
Right.
What's wrong with these people?
Right.
What's going on?
Who are these people?
I don't think we needed that.
What is the deal?
I don't think we needed that element, though. I think it was
Really?
unnecessary.
You mean
I
the
think it
two
hurt
people
the
that didn't
episode.
come over?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Oh well, yeah.
I think it was extraneous and slowed things down.
I'll give you that.
That was part of the episode I didn't like. I think it could have been a stronger story if they spent more time arguing the morality and less time on that crap.
I appreciated the way they led into it though, because I didn't see it coming. I didn't remember what this was about because they were doing that kind of thing of like this is. It was more like a
Bait and switch.
No, like more like a Law and Order kind of thing, or they take they kind of meander. So it made the investigation seem a little bit more realistic in the sense that you wouldn't come in immediately go zero in on exactly what's wrong.
Right.
You need to kind of. They're showing why these people seem suspicious.
Yeah.
They want you to to think about that instead of
I just
what is
think
actually.
there were ways they could have done it that would be more interesting, and I don't know.
I like that the Enterprise is like a Napa Auto Parts. Like, what code do you need? Okay, we've already pulled it. We got a ton of them in stock. It's on the transporter right now. It's that quick.
Well, that's
They didn't even have to go back in the warehouse. They had that right on the counter, right on the shelf, right in the main room.
that's what they transported it for. Then. No, that gets me the other part of what we were saying before, like the leading into it. We were all kind of in this, I think, in the same place at the beginning because, as I put it, the big screen thingy captain Tijan, as we found out later, he just sounded like a regular guy. You would think from if we suddenly got spaceship technology, we wouldn't know how to use them like that.
Yeah.
If we're just flying around and somebody's like, "Hey, did you try aligning?" Blah blah blah. I was like,
Let me take you back even further, Keith. If my car breaks down on the way home,
yeah,
I'm going to be as lost as Mary Butcher.
yeah, exactly,
I'll be
exactly.
like, what? What do I need? I don't.
Well,
Can you put? Hey, I have this for you. You can put this in.
Like what?
No, I can't.
spark plug? I don't know where that goes.
I can't. I mean, I kind of. I have no tools.
yeah.
My wife has all those.
I would agree with you. No, I liked that because basically for 200 years their whole civilization has just been dealing with the plague, and so
Right.
they haven't had time to
That's true
work
too.
on the other
That's
stuff.
true
I
too.
totally got that.
So it's like somebody made those ships at some point, and they're like, "Well,
Yeah,
we just have these."
before the
And,
plague.
Yeah.
yeah, and so
And they're
how are we gonna-
breaking down. They're down to the last few. It was if the Enterprise hadn't interfered, this episode ends almost the same way but quicker. So this batch of medicine doesn't make it to the planet, but they don't have time to go get another batch. So now they go through withdrawal then instead of
Yeah.
down the road. But yeah, the Enterprise and that's one thing about this episode is it's a great morality tale, but take the Enterprise out of it, and other than those 4 lives being lost, there's no effect on the rest of the story.
Right. Right.
Which I find fascinating, to do a story like that, where the Enterprise didn't make a difference, and purposely chose not to make a difference.
Yeah.
Well, there's one thing that occurred to me now, though. I mean, if the one thing that could have made a difference, where they could have chosen to make a difference, and I think Beverly even kind of touched on this, if they explained to this Ornarians, yeah,
Marinara.
what was going
Marinarians?
on,
Delicious.
they could take different kinds of precautions. You might end up having people like committing suicide or killing people prematurely because they think they're going to die anyway.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Like
they
there
definitely
could be
will.
some,
Yeah.
They definitely will.
Yeah.
and who's to say like how long it would take them to figure out that this person is actually going to live?
But the Prime
Or-
Directive says they can't do
Yeah.
that.
Right, but I'm saying that it's not like they
Leave
had
them an
no
anonymous
effect.
note. Send them flowers with an anonymous note. By the way, you're drug addicted. Sign your secret admirer. What did you think about the scene where Merrick Buttrick and his friend sounded high?
Great.
I think that's best.
I was gonna say we're not supposed to laugh at addicts, but we're it's okay to laugh at people.
It was Cheech and Chong.
Yeah, Cheech and Chong. Dude, where's my car? And a number of Beavis and Butthead don't count. They weren't stoned. They were just stupid.
That was the obvious answer that we all missed at the beginning of the episode because I didn't remember where this was going until late.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, that should have told us right then.
Right.
What it was.
I thought he was drunk because I thought, oh, this is a guy. He's been partying, but.
I mean, it prompted me to do my alternate episode where it's Quark that's breaking up the atmosphere, and they can't figure out how to fix things because.
I thought that they were going to be like, when they're like, yeah, your coil's bad, so it's creating a problem with the exhaust. I thought it was just to me, they're high from they're
exhaust.
They're being asphyxiated. Yeah, like
that's interesting.
That's another 70s 80s things. Yeah, you're pumping your gas and you're getting high from all the fumes. We saw another Riker point in this episode when he goes down the transport room. He just points at Yar like, "Let's go." I love it, man. I love the Riker point.
I like that too. Though.
So that once again we had Yar the transport chief. Security chief is best qualified to operate the transporter. It's a dangerous situation. It's not working right.
Yep.
Don't send an engineer.
No.
Send Lieutenant Yar to figure it out, which is absolutely ridiculous. But then later in the episode, she knows nothing about coils, so her engineering knowledge is very specific to the transporter.
Well,
I was thinking halfway through this episode that this was some of the most Yar's gotten to do in quite a while.
Yeah, definitely.
That might be my favorite Yar episode, even though she didn't do anything in the second half. Except that weird waving goodbye.
At the end, we had to watch 3 times, which was because it was fascinating.
Watch when Picard and Crusher get on the turbolift at the end. She's waving goodbye to them, I swear.
Or to us.
I have to argue a bit there. I mean, I think it makes more sense.
Time up is almost time up. Sorry.
We've had those instances where Yar is doing the transport. I think there was certainly the possibility of there being some sort of security issue for the people that are coming over.
Absolutely.
And certainly it was a good device to have her already there to use the phaser to interrupt what was happening instead of having to get there suddenly.
No, because you don't know what could happen. You have her there, but you have her with her phaser out and an engineer operating the transport.
Okay.
Then you have to pay another actor.
Right.
But we haven't seen Miles O'Brien since the pilot, so come on, bring him back.
God, that's right. He has been in it, hasn't he?
He's only been in the pilot, but he is going to be their transporter chief.
Right.
He didn't even have a name in the pilot.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then Yar waits forever to interfere. I don't know. It's just.
I thought the whole sequence with the freighter and getting them off of it was fine. I went a little long. It reminded me of this game my sister would play. Me and my brother still talk about where she'd be like, "What would you do if the whole floor was lava?" We'd be like, "Well, we'd jump on a chair or something." Mm-hmm. Nope, can't. Chair's burned up. Like, all right, well then I try and climb a tree. Nope, there are no trees there. All right, well I try and do this. Nope, can't do that. It's like, all right, then I guess I'd die. And that's what kept happening here. It's like, can we do this? Nope. Hey, can we do this? No, the sunspots. Can we do this? Nope, it's not gonna work either. All right, can we try this? Oh, that did work. So I mean, eventually it got there. And
I mean, the whole time they're talking, they could have sent a shuttle.
That's true. That's true too.
And then they would have saved all 6 people.
So it was. Eventually, they gave up the game, whereas my sister never gave up the game. In my sister's game, you died. But
anyway. That's one of the nice things about the Orville. They don't have a transport, so they would have just sent the shuttle.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Seth MacFarlane would have rescued them all.
You know, and every time I watch the Orville, I know I'm getting way ahead of ourselves. Every time I'm like, well, why don't they? Oh, that's right.
They don't have a transport.
They don't have a transport.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. The only reason the original series had the transporter was because of budget. They didn't have money to show the shuttle.
Huh.
Yeah, the Orville's got the money.
It was much cheaper to do the transporter effect than to do the shuttle shot.
Seems counterintuitive.
That was the one thing Gene Roddenberry pulled out of his butt that wasn't based on real science, and yet they're working on it. So, Did you happen to notice, and I've got a couple notes here that are random things that you may have completely missed, but outside of the guest quarters where Sobe and Langor were staying, did you see there was a very nice lobby with flowers and a painting on the wall and people walking back and forth?
They did say they were in nice quarters.
Yeah, but right outside the quarters when people were entering, there was like a active lobby with decorations.
Well, that's how you know it's nice.
We've never seen the Enterprise corridors have
Jimmy, that's for the 400 people who don't know what magnetic fields are.
There's a really nice guest suite area that we haven't really fully explored. I liked that.
They're the ones who turn up the TV.
yeah, sorry, I left them out too.
Along a similar line, and you may not notice this, when Data was sitting in the seats that pull out at the back of the bridge, there was a big comfy cushion coming out of both sides of where he was sitting.
Yeah.
Like, those are the best seats in the house. He either gets to recline up front or sit on the big giant comfy cushion in the back. I feel like those cushions don't stick around. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But I feel like they don't stick around.
Yeah.
So there are a couple of technology things that I had here.
Okay.
One, let's go back to. I put this thing as something that's worth discussing. We're talking about the plague. They get into it. They do get into it eventually, like after we wrote the note down. But the idea of whether or not the transporter would have automatically filtered it out anyway. I would have thought that would have been like a default setting. And they got around it with like maybe the sunspots and blah blah blah. But
so to me, what happened is as Yara was trying to transport, she got a little warning popped up saying, "Hey, biofilter may not work. Do you want to proceed?" And she's like, "Okay," because she just needed to make it happen.
So is the idea that the transporter does filter out?
Yes.
All that? Okay.
But in the moment, they weren't sure that feature was working.
which is that speaks. I mean, maybe unintentionally. Maybe this is just one of those random I'm a guest writer whatever things, but it just that speaks volumes as to like how the thing would even work.
Could that violate the Prime Directive?
Why?
If they did something to somebody that they shouldn't?
Well, that's
Like
another
being
part. I mean, you're incidentally curing a disease or something, which might affect.
Or maybe it's something that like that's a natural thing, and that for the people on that planet.
Oh.
But for us,
you
if
wouldn't even
filtered
know.
it out,
What a good point.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought
that's a
about
tough
that
one.
angle.
So yeah,
This is problematic.
so maybe they would have to default to everything as is, and then maybe doing some sort of.
I'm putting the
diagnostic
filter. I'm putting it not quite the same category as the. We're just going to beam up an old record of you where you were fine and healthy from the animated series, but. I kind of cut you off, Keith, but I think that is an interesting concept too. Just the idea of how would that work, that filtering work?
Yeah.
But and the next thing is like, well, how do you know what to filter?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh. That never even occurred to me. That's a tough one.
Because like pointy ears, they might be like, there must be something wrong with their ears. No, Joanne Linville needs those pointy ears.
That's why they never let McCoy operate the transporter.
Oh.
He get rid of the ears, the eyebrows, and the green blood.
Yeah. The blood's the wrong color. We need to adjust that.
It's like ordering a pizza. It's a menu. You're like, nope. Yes. It's essentially eugenics being practiced.
Oh no.
By Yar or whoever, or Winston, whoever happens to be running. Kyle, not Winston. Whoever happens to be running the transporter thing. Yeah, we took a turn there.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So
Don't let racists operate the transporter. That's what you're saying.
Yes. Or run countries.
Too late.
Yep. You're
By
right.
now he's surely impeached. Oh, he was.
wasn't
He was impeached.
it didn't.
By
Well,
now, Barr's surely been impeached.
so the other thing I noticed, and this isn't really specific to this episode necessarily, but it's just the first time I really noticed for this series, the newer phasers. I just noticed like how small they actually are.
Yeah.
They look like little key fobs. I'm wondering how it seems like it would be impractical.
The original series had that same model.
Yeah,
phaser.
so they used to have that phaser, but they also had them where it was attached to the more gun
like a pistol grip or something.
Yeah.
You'd think that would be at least for aiming and things. It would like the feeling of it.
Yeah.
But remember that it popped out. Like this top piece
Yeah.
popped out and they
Okay.
could use it as a fob.
Right.
And then they put it in the holster.
Right.
100 years later, they figured out how to get the power without the big holster.
Interesting.
It's like your cell phone 100 years ago wasn't this.
Okay.
Your personal computer 30 years ago did not fit on a tablet.
Right.
I know, all right, but here, what I'm saying though is that's not necessarily. I mean,
Holding.
I've had like smaller phones and bigger phones, and sometimes I've gone to the smaller one. But sometimes then you can't even use the keyboard or like holding it in your hand and pulling a trigger and aiming it would be.
It's like the guy last night. The guy last night at Hybex who asked me the size of my laptop. He was like, "Is that a 16.2 or 17.1?" I'm like, I don't know. I just know it's huge because I'm old. So
I get the biggest laptop and the cell phone that I can.
to that point, though, for me, I don't love guns, but I do like the aesthetic of the old phaser with the.
So TNG has their own version of a larger phaser that we'll see.
That's
Okay.
right. That's right.
We haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I was
Or
used to
maybe
seeing.
we have seen
I think
it yet, but not
didn't
this
last
episode.
week. I thought last week it was more that kind of phaser.
I don't remember.
Maybe that's why I didn't notice it. Maybe it was just this episode where they're really using like the little tiny ones.
But tonight was definitely just the
That's
small,
the pocket size.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, you can see it like holding between like a thumb and forefinger, like angle up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, but it's
incidentally,
only
all
like
kinds
two
of like,
buttons and a dial.
but
Set for stun, set for kill, set for disintegrate.
I do think the fact that those little phasers don't sit in the big cradle almost makes the TOS design better. Than
Yeah.
the TNG where it's two separate phasers.
Yeah, I think so too.
Anyway.
Do we want to get into fashion?
Do it.
Fashion.
I actually have something for that.
I don't. Other than Crusher looking great in her pantsuit.
I thought the Breckians looked sharp. Like I thought Judson Scott looked like he was in kind of a sharp suit, and then I loved what's her name?
Kimberly Farr.
Kimberly Farr's
Farr.
outfit.
Of course she did. That was a Bill Thies original.
It is, and I wrote down.
Really? What?
It had to be. It had to. If it wasn't, it was somebody copying his style.
And I
Is
wrote
it a writer or?
No, the costumer from the original series.
Yeah.
Who
So
continued into Next Gen.
I wrote down it's a tease because it's got looks like it's going to show the belly button. It's got but there's the fabric there. But then when she turns to the side, you're still like, I might see the belly button. And for whatever reason, that's a big thing, obviously, to see.
I like a nice belly.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
So I love the out. Again, it's one of those things where it's like it's showing enough skin but not too much skin. It's Tease is a genius.
It's never enough skin. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
He's just and just to jump back to TOS, like I said, I watched the Cage the other night. In my mind, the Orion slave girl is practically naked, but she's not. It's just the way he's conforming to network sensors and everything, and finds a way around it. It's just amazing.
It's interesting that after T's left and he leaves after like season 1 or 2 of Next Gen, their future costumers never ever get nearly as risque.
Yeah.
Like everything gets much more modest after he departs the series.
Well, maybe it's just more of a sign of the times.
I think that's part of it. I think that's part of it too.
I remember in DS9 when Jadzia Dax put on a swimsuit, I was like, that's the most skin I've seen in years on Star Trek. It was great. But,
so Captain Tijan, the pair of them they look futuristic with the material, but they still sort of seem like bumpkins.
Yes.
Right. I think that was the idea. They are the
Tijan had like a handkerchief, scarf, or kerchief, sort of. And,
like a white collar or blue collar.
Tijan is also my favorite kind of mustard from Anara.
Do you have any gray Tijan?
Oh God! And the other John. And the other guy had like overalls on.
Yeah.
But they were like this kind of like chiffon or satin or something. I can't really.
Yeah.
But Sobe was more like leisure suit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I thought the costuming did a great job of differentiating the two groups.
I thought so too. But also still making you think they're from the same system, even if it's not. And we had that same thing with like Data. Well, the people that live in the system, why would they all be anything remotely the same? Does that make sense? I don't think it does it?
What, you mean the two planets?
Yeah, like, we always, every time we're like, why would this planet, everyone on the planet be the same? Because on Earth, we're all humanoid, but we're not all octopuses either. I mean, we're all different. So I think if there is life on Saturn, it's not going to be anything like us, probably.
No, but so these two races look the same. It was the nose thing. Was the only thing.
That's what
I just assumed they colonized their sister planet. Like if Mars.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. That I buy that. That makes sense.
Because it didn't seem like there was a biological difference between them.
Yeah, they both also had the Bioshock power.
Right. And the medicine worked the same on both of them.
Ah, yes.
Except one of them figured out what it did and one of them didn't. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I thought they were the same species.
That makes sense.
Interesting to find out that the plague were intentionally spread, too.
I don't know that it was intentionally spread. I think they just...
that was one of my thoughts, too.
Yeah. Well, to get to the other planet, there need to be some sort of contact to...
But they have freighters and stuff that went back and forth. They
already?
Clearly... Yeah. Because the freighters that they have here are broken down remnants of what they used to have. But when they used to be more actively moving back and forth.
Right.
So my thinking was it was like going from the U.S. to China, like constant trade routes and communication and stuff.
But to your point, Keith, I thought that was one of the thoughts I had too. Was did they create the problem that they had the cure for? Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that's the way they explained it in the episode.
I don't think so either. Yeah. So then the other thing I went to, and it gets into many, I think several different thoughts of the American healthcare system for one, but also the idea, like at first I thought it was more like, and this is maybe just because I know Merritt Buttrick was in it and he died from AIDS complications, but how expensive drugs for AIDS were back
Yeah.
then, especially then when not nearly enough was being done. And even now, I'm sure they're expensive because it's America and all drugs are expensive. But then I thought it took more of a shift to the idea was, and I think this is still an element of it. And I thought all these were more interesting than the say no to drugs thing, which was, I thought it was kind of like the thing that's always talked about with cancer is we're never going to find a cure. We're just going to find drugs to treat the symptoms, which is what interferon was at the time, which is or AZT at the time for AIDS. Was just it treated the symptoms. It didn't help cure it. And I think we still. Obviously, we've made some advances with cancer, but obviously it's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
I mean, are you getting to the point where you think that's intentional? You think that they don't want to?
I know my mom in the 70s was convinced. Back then, she was already like, they're never going to get a cure for cancer because they're making too much money by treating it. Mm-hmm. They will never cure cancer, which, thank God for polio and some of those they didn't have. Now, that's a very cynical view. But I know we've made advances and people live longer, and so obviously we've made it, and with HIV and AIDS too, and we're not quite there. But I think that to me, I thought that was an element of it, which I thought was really interesting.
Well, this is my problem with a purely capitalist society. Whenever you profitize helping people,
exactly,
I don't know. I don't have an opinion one way or another. I don't know enough to know if they're keeping a cure for people or not.
Right.
But I'm saying I think it's ridiculous that we would privatize and capitalize such things.
Yeah.
Well,
that needs to be more nonprofit stuff and whatever.
Yeah.
I have
working for the public good.
Sorry, I have a note that's related to that. Although this is probably just part of my own ignorance on how economics work, but I was wondering what kind of currency or product they were using to barter between the two planets. I mean, is it
like it was barter trade,
just dollars? I mean,
space dollars.
Yeah.
Well, it sounded like they were basically funding that other planet's whole way of life.
Well, yeah, the way they put it was,
but how?
They give us a sophisticated life, and we allow them to live.
Like they're giving them food and clothes and furniture and all this everything.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, but what is it that was on that freighter that they couldn't have easily replaced? Like almost immediately.
Well, they don't have replicators, and everybody's sick all the time, so their productivity is probably down. So to make that, a bunch of stuff.
And this is just more of I understand that there was just a little plot point they're kicking out, but I would have liked an example of like what exactly it was they couldn't have beamed up or sent another shuttle with, or like what was lost in that freighter that they weren't willing to leave the drugs without getting.
Right.
Like what was so vital to them other than I guess I don't know.
I think they were just worried about they like their way of life and they don't want to sacrifice even the slightest bit to help somebody else.
Yeah, we said there was that class thing there, and there's stuff that whole idea of capitalism, which is, I mean, I think that's kind of inherent in the statement where he's like, well, we allow them to stay alive.
Well, it's like the pharmaceutical companies,
and that's
that jack up the rates on the drugs.
Exactly.
And demand.
Exactly. Yeah, and I just watched Snowpiercer yesterday, which had a very similar
I've seen it. Yeah.
You people in the back of the train, the poor people, we let you live, and there's balance because you sustain us, and we get to live high on the hog or whatever. But you got to have balance, which I think there's kind of there, which is we're giving them enough of the drugs so they can stay alive and keep us going with our life because we need them. And they need it's almost like a symbiotic relationship. Thanks for going. Thank you. But to your pharmaceutical point, yeah, I think it was interesting because it was that's exactly what the two pushers were, because I thought there was a distinction between we're guys who are selling you a dime bag of marijuana on the corner as opposed to pharmaceuticals. The two rich people were the pharmaceutical companies, but the other, the poorer planet, the Breckians, were more of the, I just need a hit to get me by.
Ornarans.
What's that?
The Ornarans.
Yeah, the Ornarans. Yeah, the Ornarans.
I'm sorry. Just one last thing. I know it's just like a shorthand for the plot, but I was just if this were like fleshed out in a movie, for example, the Breckians were dressed nicer to indicate that they were more well-to-do, but
sure.
Again, you have to think about the barter. How does that work? I mean, are they sending clothes? Are they sending money to buy clothes on the other planet? Where are the clothes being made?
Yeah. It sounds like they were sending goods. It sounded like their planet wasn't doing the work anymore.
Yeah.
It sounded like their planet had Trump bumper stickers on every car.
Well, what I'm saying is, so where were these clothes being constructed? If they're being constructed on the Ornaran planet, why wouldn't they all be dressed nice anyway? And then,
Well, because they had to
good
work.
question.
They had to work, so they couldn't wear such nice clothes.
Yeah.
If you've got a job where
Yeah.
you're working at a factory, you're not wearing those clothes to work.
right.
I was gonna get some nice clothes, and then I got high. That's pretty much what the Anarians do.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was gonna fix the freighter, and then I got high, and then I got high.
For
then
the,
I got high.
I've been reading Merritt Buttrick's Wikipedia page while
No,
I'm talking, and for the in the spirit of accuracy, he actually died of toxoplasmosis,
Right.
But it was an AIDS complication.
Exactly.
So you are correct.
Yes.
But I wanted to throw that out there. Do you think there was any connection to the fact that he played a plague victim here while he was suffering from?
I think so, and I have nothing to back that up, but
Okay. I don't either.
I know people knew he was sick for a while though.
Kirstie Alley said he was bisexual. He played a lot of gay characters too.
Yeah.
Anyway, just interested. The picture on his Wikipedia page with his little rat tail and his sunglasses is just adorable to me. I think it's really...
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah.
Like, he just seems like such a fun guy in that picture. Makes me, like, sad. I didn't get to see him act in more stuff. But anyway. Yar, we're talking about drugs and stuff. Yar's conversation with Wesley, I really liked. And we're reminded once again that she came from the gang rape planet, where, of course, they did drugs.
Sure.
And she came from this really bad background, and the whole time, like, you get the picture, she was definitely an addict herself.
So I
liked that backstory and filling in the hole.
I think between the two of you on that one, I can see both points. I liked the idea of what they were trying to do. I can see Steven's point that was probably a little bit too stilted and forceful the way they actually phrased it.
Yeah, it was. It was
Yeah.
just like...
But if you came from a planet where you were gang raped by drug addicts, of course you're going to be, don't do that stuff.
Well, no, it's just the 80s bent to it.
that's
You could see the acting quality changed significantly between both Tasha and Wesley. They seemed like they were kind of forced into saying these lines a certain way.
After school special.
And the director was going, no, all right, you have to seem really innocent here when you're saying this to make it really
It
drive
was like
home.
a paid insert in the middle of a comic book.
Yeah.
Where it's a comic page of Nancy Reagan talking to
Yes.
some kids and telling them to just say no. For me, it was like...
I just liked it because it filled in Yar's backstory, and we got very well developed.
That was
from
fine.
her.
Although
But
I do disagree with her saying when he's like, I don't understand. She's like, I hope you never do. He's like, no, you want him to understand. We just don't want him to experience it.
She didn't phrase it eloquently, but she's just a security person. What is she going to...
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Well-
She's not a poet.
So my question is, marijuana is legal in a lot of this country now. In Columbus, in
Maybe
small
by the time
quantities.
this podcast goes live, it'll be
It'll
legal
be everywhere, finally.
It won't be. We're like 4 weeks out at this point.
Yeah.
And we'll have a new president and all these other things.
Oh,
and
God.
Oh, man.
And we'll have flying cars.
But
By the time we get to Discovery, we'll definitely have flying cars.
so, I mean, and I don't think we have people driving around. Well, we do have people driving around that are stoned for sure.
Oh.
But is everyone, I mean, I feel like, not everyone who drinks is a menace to society. Not everyone who smokes pot.
Speak for yourself.
Well,
We're all drinking right now. I'm a menace.
But, and in different ways.
Well, I'm not drinking. I finished my drink.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
But
We don't do this podcast.
wouldn't they get better at that in the future, or would the drugs just have to get harder?
So
Is that what they're
in
saying?
the Star Trek backstory lore history, World War III, which we never see too explicitly but get little glimpses of,
Right.
there was a huge drug component of society had let itself become way too drug addicted and pleasures of the flesh type
Sure.
stuff. And that was part of what contributed to that war. So coming out of that war, what we see in Star Trek First Contact with Zefram Cochrane is that kind of stuff gets left in the past. And they move forward with the unified Earth and better society. But I will say, and this is something that is obvious in DS9 and Voyager, but Star Trek Picard has really hammered home to me, that this idyllic world of the 24th century exists on the Enterprise D. It does not exist in the rest
Everywhere
of the
else.
galaxy. It exists in parts of the galaxy, but there's the privileged and the unprivileged. And when we're watching the Enterprise D, we are seeing the privileged of the privileged. We are seeing the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
And what we'll find out in other Star Trek is there's still dark
There's a lot of
stuff
other
happening.
worlds, yeah.
You know?
That's good.
Yeah.
I like that the very next spin-off we get takes us out of that ivory tower and puts you more into the ground.
Yeah. So it sounds like incels start World War III.
Sure.
Yeah.
Probably.
Which probably isn't far off. I mean, how it's going to happen. So.
Yeah. Not far off, like, time-wise. Was that the character from the original series from World War III?
Yes. Yeah.
Colonel Green.
That this all checks out.
Deep cut.
This all checks out.
He really had a name, but he smoked so much pot they called him Colonel Green.
Oh my God.
That I like. Speaking of people and being checked out, Riker getting shocked. His face was wonderfully cheesy, but also wonderful. I loved it. And then when he comes out of it, he seemed to have really enjoyed the experience.
I didn't catch that part.
Oh, he was smiling.
Was that Force lightning they were using?
Something like that.
Yeah.
That was the Star Wars.
Yeah.
Star Wars ripped it off of Star Trek. They were like, we need to do some new force power for the Emperor.
Let's see what
Watch this episode of Star Trek.
That's what they're going to do in like 15 years. We'll go from there.
Well, Jedi was before this, so they already had the Force.
I liked how you already talked about it's going to be really hard to disarm that ability from them, and then they never even try. And Riker just gets shocked as a consequence. She's a really bad security chief. If she didn't spend so much time with the transporter, maybe she could actually do her job.
So they have Force lightning, but they can't cure... Oh, they did cure the plague. They just decided to get...
Yeah.
Do they get the Force lightning from the drugs?
No,
they just have that.
I believe that's a
funny.
separate thing. And I like how they said it's not common in humanoid beings. So it is common in non-humanoid beings.
Okay.
I guess like
Force
Keith's
lightning?
cloud girlfriends.
Yeah.
They have force lightning.
Force lightning.
Yeah.
Huh.
Keith, are you still mourning your cloud girlfriend?
I've moved on since then.
Okay,
I think.
that's good.
Merged Headford.
I was, the transporter cured everything. I just
They just beat the earlier version of it.
Yeah.
The transporter cures depression, too.
Yeah.
Filters it out.
So I think this brings us to like kind of the climax of the episode with the Crusher Picard stuff.
Yeah.
First of all, I absolutely love fiery Beverly Crusher. It's like my favorite version of her.
Yeah.
She was just awesome in this episode, in my opinion.
She kind of had the McCoy thing where she had to keep turning, but I for the most part, I liked, her getting fired up.
I just love that whole discussion about short-term versus long-term effects. Where's the burden? Picard even saying, you never know if we may never know if we made the right decision.
I didn't catch that, but that's a very good point.
Just that whole discussion and leaving the story unfinished in a way. And the morality question, I don't know, that for me made the whole episode.
Yeah.
Although, again, having just watched a few episodes of Star Trek Picard, there is clearly a theme where Picard always thinks he's right. And when he takes that moral high ground, he doesn't actually stop to examine what the other side of the coin is. And I don't think he did here either.
Yeah.
Even though Beverly was pushing him to.
Well,
Picard is arrogant, and Picard does always think he has the right answer.
When she mentioned, when they have the first conversation on the bridge, or one of the first conversations about it, he looks at her like, do you know who I am? I don't care what you think. I mean, that's his look.
That's arrogance.
Yeah, it
and
totally
he
was.
has it in
It totally was, yeah.
Picard has many great points. I love the character so much. But a truly fleshed out character is going to have weak points, and his arrogance is one of his weak points.
But I will say, I think by the end of the episode, he's kind of accepted, like, I'm not sure I did the right thing here.
Yes.
He has a little bit, but I still think when he went to bed that night, he wasn't up thinking about it. He was thinking, I made the right decision.
Well, when he says, when they're like, where are we going? He's like, I don't care. Let's just get some distance.
I liked that.
I like that, and I thought that was the part where he's like, man, I can't. I just can't.
Clearly, when you walked up... Yeah, I think... was that because of the situation, or was that because Beverly was mad at him? Because if you notice when they got out of that turbo lift, the way she walked off that lift ahead of him, she was still angry.
It might have been a little of both, but I did...
He was like, she's not going to come visit my quarters tonight.
But I really did like that.
Let's get over to Rise.
It's no, let's get the hell out of here, but it's a pretty good line. Mm-hmm. It's pretty good.
And then they followed it up with something that felt tacked on and weird, but I still loved it, about Geordi going... Let's go someplace we haven't gone before.
Yeah, that was very weird.
The name Felicium seemed like it was there unobtainium because it's like they're spelling or pronouncing out fleecem. So
fleece them.
Yeah. So
yes,
Felicium.
I didn't even get that.
That's so weird. They would slip something like that in there.
I mean, speaking of somebody that writes a sci-fi serial, sometimes it's just easier to go for the obvious.
Yeah.
You didn't do your alternate episode yet.
I do have those. Why not turn Anara into a pleasure planet? Or Breccia. No, Anara. Anara is the people that are all high.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean...
Make it Ryza 2?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably is kind of like a shady pleasure planet.
Sure.
Yeah, but why not?
They'll get you high.
Why not? Raise the property values and make it a nicer place. Why doesn't somebody go and invest in it? My other alternate episode is the families of the 2 people that died when the freighter exploded. And like, what do you mean you don't remember what happened?
We don't care. Just give us a fix.
Yeah.
I mean that begs the other question that or the one I was asking before is like what do they have to do on that planet to produce, or what are they producing on Anara to I mean, if they're high all the time or need to be dosed all the time, what are they capable of producing to send back to them? I don't know. So let's see, my last ones. I've got Enterprise crew is sort of like tech support in that scene, and I could relate to both sides of that because I can imagine just getting a spaceship and having to go somewhere is like, why don't you know all these technical things if you're the captain of the ship? How to do all these? Well, I don't know. I mean, you have to wonder what the standards would have to be to get a flying license or whatever to own a ship. I liked the way the Breckian woman came across. She just seemed sorry, let me back up for a second. You were saying that what's his name? The con character. Merrick, Kahneman, yeah, Carrick.
Merrick Buttrick?
Yes.
Tijan?
No, the other guy from Breccia.
Sobe.
Yeah, but what was the actor name?
Scott.
Okay, sorry. We went a long way to get there. My point is that you were saying before that he seemed kind of wooden, but he seemed like he was supposed to be sort of like the assistant or the hired muscle or something like that to kind of just be there to back her up, and she was the one who was sort of subtly making decisions. Even during the altercation, she seemed to be more skilled, stronger. The boss character who just like one arm to his wrist and just like she already had under control.
I really like that. That made her even sexier to me.
So,
ready to get to our rankings?
Are you going to mention the other reason why it might make her seem sexy to you?
Oh yeah, Keith had the note.
Because she was blonde?
Well, that was... You're on the right track.
Something about the voice that she was doing reminded me of the character that Colleen, his wife, might have played at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see Colleen playing.
Yeah, so her being powerful and running the show and everything, it definitely seemed like a very Colleen thing, which is why she's replacing the girl from last week.
Oh, I guess that's a spoiler right there.
She will not. I know she. I'm still going to say she's probably not going to beat out Brenda Strong for this season, but I liked her a lot.
We'll do our Star Trek. I'm going to call them. I think I've been thinking about this. I feel like the men and women of Star Trek, the way I'm presenting it's a little bit sexist and a little bit last decade.
Sure.
So let's call it our Star Trek crush because that seems more.
I like that better. That sounds better.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
So yours is Langmore.
Yes.
Keith, are you going to stick with Lieutenant Tasu from last week, or are you going to switch?
For now. I will stay, yes.
I'm going to stay with Oleana from Coming of Age. Our annoyance scale, Wesley, 0 to 10.
I'm probably going to be higher than you guys. I gave him a 3.5.
Oh, that's lower than I thought you would. I'm going to give him a 2.
I didn't hate him that much, but...
I'm giving him a 2.
I'm at least up to a 3, I would say, because it...
At least, or you're up to a 3?
Still deciding. It's hard to... What's my highest been so far?
I'm not keeping track of individual, just the average. For Wesley. Sorry. I thought late in the season I should have kept track of that, but I haven't thus far. Our highest average score for Wesley as a group has been a 6.
All right. I'm going to... Again, it doesn't feel like it's his fault. I mean, I don't want to assign blame, but a 3 seems fair. Simply because this brings me to one of my other notes, one of the last ones. Felicia, not even once.
So he's a 2.8 average, which puts about the middle of the pack.
Oh, okay.
Of Wesley episodes. Right. Who was your annoyance this week?
The other guy, the not Merritt Buttrick guy, addict.
Romos?
Yeah. I don't know why those two annoyed me. I mean, they were in a bad plight, but, Merritt Buttrick didn't. Merritt Buttrick made me laugh. So he was the less fun addict, so that's...
Okay.
But he didn't annoy me that much, but...
Okay.
So, yeah, I guess Wesley would be my most annoying this week.
Keith, who's your annoyance?
I'm in the same boat. I mean, it's odd. The addicts were more annoying than... you feel like you're being not compassionate, but whatever. I'd actually have to go with Wesley, even though, again, I would say it's not his fault. He's dealing the hell, or He's playing the hand he was dealt there.
I'm going to say the transporter chief.
Hey,
Because I am sick of him or her not doing their job and making Yar run the transporter. Because I really didn't find a character in this episode I found annoying. So I'm going with the transporter chief. Episode ranking. I'm inclined to put it relatively high up, but I know that there's some shortcomings. Let's start with Encounter at Farpoint. Better or worse than Encounter at Farpoint? I'm going to say better.
me too.
Really?
Yeah. There were better concepts, I thought more.
I think my memory of Encounter at Farpoint is worse than I actually felt about it.
It's not a great episode.
But
It's the Q and stuff. I mean, it's
I know.
like, you know...
that was
We
the
all
part
ranked
that makes
Q
me
as-
bring it down.
We all ranked Q as
Yeah.
being annoying in that episode.
Wow.
Yeah. The end with the space jellyfish is awesome.
And honestly, it's ranked number 6 so far for this.
Oh, yeah. We hate it.
So-
it's number 6.
Yeah, it's not that bad. Right above that is the battle, which was when the Ferengi gifted Picard the Stargazer.
It's tough. What's above the battle?
The Last Outpost, which was the other Ferengi episode,
Oh, wow.
where we met the Ferengi. I mean, I think we're in the right range right there,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
It's rough because I kind of want to put it below the battle, but I kind of want to put it above the Last Outpost, except the Last Outpost is above the battle.
Yeah, this happens when you...
Yeah.
Because those were episode 4 and 8, and this
Right.
is episode 21.
Right.
We should also, there needs to be like a column for how much each person individually has had to drink and what they were drinking.
3 glasses of wine.
By the rating and so just
Normally I'm drinking liquor and I handle it much better than the wine.
interesting.
Yeah, I'm drunker now because of the wine than I normally am.
It's weird.
I had an open bottle, it needed used.
But I mean, I'm sorry, just wine affecting you more than...
Yeah, I don't drink it nearly as much, that's probably why.
I feel the same way as you. Like I in my mind, I remember the battle better than
Yeah.
I remember the other.
But we rank Last Outpost better. I personally think it belongs below the 2 Ferengi episodes, but above Encounter at Farpoint.
Yeah, I agree.
I
go with
mean,
that.
it seems reasonable. I know that I like the Q probably more than both of you.
I like Q a lot.
as
I
far
just
as-
thought Encounter at Farpoint was like his weakest episode.
Yeah.
Well, not his weakest, because there was that other one he did in season 1, Hiding Q. That one was his weakest. I think everything with Q after season 1 is better than the 2 season 1
Yeah.
Qs.
All right. Yeah, that's fair.
Overall, I really like Q. I hope he comes back in Star Trek Picard. But anyway, next week we talk Skin of Evil. Counselor Troy is held captive on a deserted planet by a slick, black, oily, sentient, and immortal puddle of evil.
Oh no!
What?
It's just like it's just like
With each adjective that got worse.
That's the short synopsis on IMDb.
I am curious to see what Troy's mission was.
I don't think we see it.
But at
This
least,
should have followed one of the episodes she wasn't in, though.
at least
right?
maybe I can hear about it.
No, shouldn't it have followed an episode she wasn't in?
doesn't it?
No, she was in this one.
tonight, early on, yeah.
Oh, very briefly, yeah.
Yeah, but she was out of like 3 or 4 episodes, so they should have followed one of
Yeah.
those, so at least it would make sense.
Yeah, she had like 4 lines at the beginning, and then I feel like she wasn't around in that.
Yeah, maybe she left to do this.
Did you
thing.
go on a mission?
I don't know. I thought she was on the bridge at the end, but she
Oh,
wasn't.
probably.
So anyway, get your tissues and your liquor ready for Yar's swan song next week.
I do have one last thing.
Sure.
I guess this might count as an alternate episode.
Do
this,
it.
This is really just the title should have been called Symbiosis? Question
They
mark.
got so close.
Well, I mean, the question mark is the important thing there because
that's
is it a
a good
symbiotic relationship?
Yeah, that's a good-
Who
that's-
knows?
that's fair.
Live long,
Anyway.
and prosper.
And stay off the drugs. Just say no.
Not even once.
Okay, Nancy. It's All Been Done presents.
Who's got the time?